Part 2. Causes of seizures. So there's, I made a few notes here. I've got to remember what the heck I wrote down. So there are really 5 reasons that dogs have seizures. And the first one is poisons. They've been poisoned. So they've got a poison. So they've ingested something, rat poison, snail bait, that's causing a seizure. We briefly talked about that, where you're going to hopefully give them activated charcoal. Someone's trying to call me, they can wait. Number 2 is, these are in the order of what's most likely, is an epileptic fit. Epileptic fit or seizure. And those are caused typically by, there can be some other reasons, but generally these are neurological in nature. So they're brain function problems. They could be genetic. Genetic seizures tend to show up in dogs before they're 6 months old. They can be brain structure problems like tumors and things like that. Those tend to show up in dogs that are, 6 years or older. Or they can be just idiopathic. We don't know what they are. They just happen. We don't know what the cause of them are. And those tend to be quite treatable in most cases. So the first one, a dog that's having seizures before it's 6 months old, unfortunately, those are an underlying signs that may have reoccurring seizures, and they're probably harder to treat. Dogs that are over 6 months old and get their first seizures, they may well respond well to drugs. Dogs that are over 6 years of age may have brain problems like tumors, and that requires some kind of CAT scans to find out what's going on. All right. Number 3 is underlying health issues. So this could be kidney problems. This could be liver problems. Basically, these are things that have caused the dog to not be well and cause toxicity within its body because these things aren't working properly, and that then prompts a seizure. And so, the treatment for that is going to be, number 1, blood tests and find out what's going on, so you can decide whether there is some, hepatic function, liver function, kidney function, things like that. Number 4 is going to be infections. So, things that can cause this are things like meningitis, spinal problems with an infection in the spine. So meningitis, tick bites would be another one. That's another one that can cause seizures. So those ones, you'll get an idea about what's going on by having things like blood tests done. And number 5, what the heck is number 5? I don't remember what number 5 is. There is a 5th one, and I'm trying to think what it is. It's less common. Infection, well, we have to forget 5. I'll remember 5, and we'll come back to 5 here in a little bit. Let's see, infections. Well, poison, organ failures, infections. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty, yeah. Yeah, well, so then there's tumors. Okay, that's what I wanted to have, tumors. So we've got a tumor, specifically a brain tumor. That was it. Okay. So those are the causes. So now let's talk about treatments for these particular situations. Okay. Poisons. Get rid of the poison. Treat with activated charcoal. You can give medications that make a dog vomit, like you can give them hydrogen peroxide. I'm not sure that that's the best way to treat this for the vomiting, because generally when people have taken poisons, you've got to be careful, because with poisons, if you've got things like bleach and things like that, you can get a secondary problem when the dog throws the stuff up out of its stomach. But activated charcoal is something that's safe to give. The fun part is getting the dog to drink the silly stuff. It's pretty nasty stuff. You can buy activated charcoal at Walgreens and probably at Walmart's in a powdered form, so it's something you can go buy. I'm going to skip around here because this is the one we really want to talk about, is epileptic fits. Kidneys and liver problems. Well, you're going to have, in both these cases, you're going to have some blood workup done, and then the blood workup might give you an indication of whether there's, you've got elevated liver enzymes, you've got elevated kidney processes going on, high white blood counts, low red blood counts. These are all things that would show up in a general CBC, a general blood panel. Tumors, that's going to require probably CAT scans and things like that to do it. Someone's calling me again, they can wait. CAT scans to determine that one. Okay, so This is the one that is you're going to give medication for, possibly for the rest of the life of the dog. So I think now I want to talk specifically about epileptic fits. So there's a couple of ways that you'll see epileptic fits. You can see a dog that is having, motor problems. It is doing some weird stuff. It's chasing its tail like crazy. It's just generally wobbling all over the place. It's not on the floor stiff-legged. It's more doing stuff. That's one kind, less common kind. The more common kind is what's called a grand mal seizure, which we really don't know what the cause of it is, where the dog is, most part comatose, rigid, maybe staring off into space, maybe having jaw clamped, may have drool coming out of its mouth, may do some moving of its legs. Those are the more common kind of epileptic fits. And in both cases, what is the cause of it and how do we treat it? So it's some kind of neurological problem in these situations. And, it could be, so the person I talked to today, the vet said, we need to put the dog down. And I thought to myself, that's kind of a little bit wild choice for a dog that just had an epileptic fit. And I mean, in defense of the vet, it had actually a number of epileptic fits over a 24-hour period. But the next thing they said was, well, I think we should go do a CT scan. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that's okay, but CT scans are expensive. It takes time to get interpretations. And what are you going to do with the results of a CT scan? You're not going to do brain surgery. If you've got a tumor, you would, but this dog's 9 months old or 11 months old. You're not going to do brain surgery on that dog. So it seems to me like the sensible thing would be to treat it with some medications for seizures, because these things are relatively innocuous. They're not desperately expensive, and he may get relief fairly quickly. So this comes back to this, we talked in the overview part in the science about keeping a diary. The more information that you can give the vet in terms of the precursor, the event itself, how long it lasted for, how long it took for the dog to recover, and whether there was another event after that and what the time span was, would help the doctor a lot determine what the best treatments are. So I'm going to call this epileptic fits. There are a number of medications, and the one that is probably used the most is phenobarbital. So that is the most likely drug that's going to be given. I recommended to this person today was to go to talk to your vet about giving the dog some phenobarbital. Problem with phenobarbital is it does affect the liver. You can have some liver problems. You have to get the dosage right. You won't get it right the first time. You have to creep up on the right dosage. And it does take some time to work. It's not like you give phenobarbital and the dog's just immediately okay. But phenobarbital is probably the most likely thing that is going to be prescribed. The next likely thing is, and I'm going to get my list of drugs here, is sonogram. And two is sonogram. I hope I spelled it right. And then after that, it's probably primidone, rectal diazepam, and the one that used to be used a lot, but I don't think is used quite so much now, is, what the heck is it? Potassium bromide. That's what it is, potassium bromide. So potassium bromide affects the kidneys. I really don't know much about these other drugs because I haven't had any experience with them. Certainly some of them are going to work quicker than others, and that's going to be useful. They're all going to have to, you're not going to get the dose right to start with. You're going to have to, some of these dogs respond well to the first treatment. I think something like 60 or 70% of dogs perform pretty well on phenobarbital. But some of these other ones, if that fails, you may be moving down the list and trying other things. Okay, what have I missed? What have I missed? Oh, well, look, there's some other things here as well. So diet, let's get this off the board. Diet, there is some evidence that this could be linked to diet. There are ketogenic diets that have what are called MCTs. What is MCTs? I remember it. It's probably on my notes here somewhere, possibly, maybe not. Yeah, okay, MCTs, medium chain, I can't think of the right word. It's a type of fat, what is it? Medium chain, I can't think of it. Anyway, we'll just call it MCT. But there are some ideas that maybe ketogenic diets might be helpful for dogs having seizures. So that's something that one could try. There are some evidence that some things like coconut oil, for some reason, might be useful in this situation. There are things like acupuncture, which I totally don't believe in at all. There's things like acupuncture, and then there's holistic treatments. And again, not a believer in holistic treatments at all. So acupuncture and holistic treatments, for me, I wouldn't even go down those roads. But certainly if you got into a situation and it was ongoing, then to try something diet-wise is easy and cheap to do, and it may just help. There's evidence that 30% of dogs respond to triglycerides, medium-chain triglycerides. A diet that contains more of that than would be normal might be beneficial. Golly, I'm going on a long time on this. So, of course, all of this can happen with cats as well, and the treatments are the same for cats as they are for dogs, pretty much. I think that's really got my ramblings out. I just want to impress upon you, though, that when you do see an epileptic fit, it is a very scary situation. You've got a dog that you love that's obviously in trouble. You're very worried about it. But remember, this is typically, unless it's a poison, it's not an emergency situation. You should be very careful about handling and approaching a dog that's having an epileptic fit. It's much better to wait till that epileptic fit is dying down to give the dog reassurance than get yourself bit. And if there's other animals around, get the other animals away. If you're in a situation where you think that you're going to have an epileptic fit, get into a situation in a place that is more favorable for the dog not hurting itself. That's it. I hope you don't experience it, but certainly to be aware of how this is going to go gives you a better idea about what you need to do next. And essentially it is basically don't do very much until the seizure is over with. Thanks for watching. Bye, everybody. Hey, thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate people who subscribe to me. It helps me, encourage me to do more of these videos. But do remember, disclaimer here, I am not a vet. I'm not a licensed medical professional. I'm purely a person who's been breeding dogs for the last couple of decades. Any information that you got from this video, use at your own risk. There's nothing implied here, and certainly this should not be used as a substitute for advice from your veterinarian or your medical professional. I hope you enjoyed the video. Come back for more of them. Bye.